Dear Dhamma friends, today also we have arrived at the Dhamma talk hour. So may everyone settle down and give the consent with 3 times sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Katamo eko dhammo duppati anantarika citta samadhi ti. Dear Dhamma friends, according to the presentation of Venerable Maha, the 7th aspect one must be aware and take interest in. There is one thing that very hard to penetrate as far as the human mind is concerned. So one must understand which one thing that is hard to penetrate. And introducing this subject of this difficulty in penetration, Venerable Sariputta himself give the answer, Eko dhammos duppati vidyō anantarika ceto samadhi, citta samadhi. And that is his own answer, which is, you find it in Pali and translated in uninterrupted mental concentration. That's a kind of a momentum in the concentration. It's very hard to reach, penetrate, because our mind is always jumping from one to the other. So therefore, anyone who wish to have this continuity in the concentration is normal. So any human being, they know it is something valuable, but no one reached. Because it's very difficult to penetrate up to that, but it is an endowment. It's one of the gifts in the human mind. But we are so interested in superficial things, and we are so engrossed with the superficial thing, and so hard, even if you wish to know, even if you know that I am already with this kind of a deep samadhi, our mind is so much distracted with this trivial thing, superficial thing, distracting thing. So at least after listening to the Dhamma, if someone knows that I myself is a human being, even though I am temporarily, for the moment, distracted with this and that, the Anantarika Ceto Samadhi, that uninterrupted concentration is deep in my mind. Only the thing is, I don't know how to penetrate, because my mind is so engrossed with this superficial thing. And that very interest, very placing value on this superficial thing is completely acquired thing according to our culture where we brought up. So therefore the deep samadhi is your real home. That is your nature. But by and by, you have so much of hopes, so much of achievements, so much of fame, gain and kind of thing. One by one you accumulate, so that your real nature, you have forgotten. Not only that, the way back to real home itself is very difficult to penetrate. So therefore, what the Venerable Sariputta is going to point out is not to give something to you new. That is what the Buddha remind you, not going to give something to tell you, to remind you, your Buddha mind, your uninterrupted, the glittering mind is inside. But as far as you are so engrossed with superficial thing which is acquired on the way in this life. You have no time, you have no tools, you have no simply the desire to go into that. So therefore this uninterrupted mind concentration is waiting till you come and go and appreciate it. So this is what we call meditation. In the meditation, layer by layer, we try to get it off, but soon it get gotten rid of. Again we come back to the surface and again mingle with all the likings and disliking, personality traits, habits and cultural thing and your way you brought up. So everything is disturbing you or blocking you, even to go to the yesterday samadhi. Of course, it is not up to this uninterrupted concentration. So therefore, day by day, you have to dig down, and again, you have to go the next day, little more digging, little more, and keep on practicing. So therefore, only for the regular practitioners can have this penetration day upon day and stage upon stage. So therefore, it is kind of a miraculous thing for someone to go and rediscover one's own, that uninterrupted mental concentration. And at least for a putujana, for a commoner, to convince that your enlightened mind is always with you, inside itself is difficult. They are so inferior, they are never ready to accept my inner core self is already enlightened. Because you can't see it, you only see the outer crust, the rust, accumulated thing. So therefore you have so much of fear to penetrate in and see, I am a full-fledged human being, I have this Anantarika Cheto Samadhi, but you never ready to accept it. So therefore, for example, whenever a commoner go to the Buddha, confront with the Buddha is having 4-stage introduction about his teaching. First, he sandaseti, panoramically he explained and say, you see, now you are in front of the Buddha. It's a great achievement because very rarely only the Buddha, the enlightened being, appear, fully enlightened being, omnipresent, omniscient one appear. Now somehow or the other you came to it, but still you have not recognized Buddha as Buddha. It has 1,001 times, you may go to the Buddha, still you do not know. And it is not his responsibility also, because he is so bewildered, so hacked with day-to-day responsibilities and his aims, liking and disliking, but somehow or the other, by accident, go in front of the Buddha. It is responsibility of the Buddha to let him know. It's a very, very rare occasion. Now we are in front of the Buddha, but Buddha has to make it without conceit, without egotistic ideas, without any fame and gain out of that, the newly coming person. So therefore he is presenting in such a way to let him know you are now in front of a full-fledged life-size mirror. Now you can see, but that particular person never ready to accept he is front of me is the Buddha. I have already achieved the reaching the Buddha. They can't understand because mind is with so much of frustration, so much of bewilderment, so much of frills, so much of waves. So therefore even it is a Buddha's duty to tell that particular person, the newly coming, the commoner, now mind you, you are in front of the Buddha. And somehow or the other, if he to accept on faith, yes, that he is telling, he is a benevolent person, he is telling that I am in front of this the miraculous mirror, now I can see myself, he never appreciated. So Samadapeti, to appreciate him, you came by your own ways. And it is not by accident. It is due to past merits. It is your endeavors only came in front of the Buddha. If you are not appreciating everything go in waste. This is what happens in Sri Lankan Buddhists or born Buddhists. They are born Buddhists, but in search of all the other worldly things, they never appreciate that we are Buddhists. Our prime duty is to be with the Buddha, be with the present moment. But instead, they find, yes, Buddha is true, I am also true, but I have to get at least 16 hours out of 24 to earn something. Fame, gain, everything. So therefore, if at all to give time to the Buddha, you ask how many hours I must meditate. So compared with the fame, gain and kind of thing. So it is a matter of Buddha to tell you, if you have self-compassion, well-being, take your own time, day by day in an increasing manner or regular manner, this is the only time you can be with the Buddha. All the other times, you yourself pulled out of this thing and you get engrossed and engaged. We can say unmindful, unrestrained, no morality, no concentration, no wisdom. So much so, even though you go to the Buddha, even you understand the Buddha, you find how difficult to appreciate very thing and give a fair share to be with the Buddha. Very difficult. And the gravity of that difficulty only Buddha knows. Not a single individual can understand what a rarity to have it. But even then I don't care. I have so much of things to attend. So this is yet another aspect to meditate, to be mindful. But more pulling things, more interesting things are not this. This is something like regimentation and fulfilling duties, but other things you do full out of your interest. So therefore, appreciation, it's a miraculous thing if someone is appreciating one's own becoming a human being, reaching the Buddha, and after understanding even how to appreciate it. And once appreciated, your majority of your task is finished. I was on meditation line. But lack of appreciation, always you put into the inferiority, you are waiting for the next Buddha to happen, and you call this very life is short, which that shortcoming and this shortcoming. What about having another lifetime in the next? Or what about having yet another teacher? Yet about having yet another meditation center, yet another meditation object? So keep on varietal entertainment, cocktail party. You never strive, you always strive. You try different places, different objects, different teachings, and that is called trying. The striving is, if you know this is Buddha, if you know this is, I am a human being, that is striving, that you have to keep on digging into the same path. So the moment you understand, you will be urged, you will be moved by the urge. Oh, what a grave thing I have to do. So when it is that his Samvega, the move started, then Buddha says, now you understand, you are in front of Buddha, you have a human being, you got the message, now you see you have to go from here to there. And then onward, according to his background, the Buddha is giving the next task to do, or to be mindful, or to be develop more and more morality, or develop more and more concentration, or develop more and more wisdom. And then again that particular person get discouraged. So much of things to do. So again he discouraged. Then again Buddha patting them and says, don't worry darling, each and every one achieved have trod this path. So therefore make a determination and go, and that is what my grace is, that is my presence is, that is what my Dhamma is, that is what my disciples are. So you are being with, so keep on doing. So therefore these 4 stages, Sandaseti, Samadapeti, Samuttejesi, Sampahanseti, is a short way to encourage a commoner and to go deep penetrating into that. And for that, the Buddha, as well as the newcomer, has to share one idea: you are already enlightened. Your inner core is already enlightened. And Buddha has no problem, he knows. He is in Anguttara Nikaya, he says, Pabhassara midam bhikkhave cittam, agantuke upakilite upakilitam, tang asutavato putujjano nappajanati. Tassa asutavato putujjanassa samadhi bhavana natthiti vada. Oh monks, each and every person, inner core is glittering, unpolluted, but outer crust is gathered some dust, some rust. The commoner do not know. He sees only the outer crust. Therefore it is, I am fully filthy. I am fully defiled. So my everything is out of this filth or defilements. So therefore no point of wash and clean. Because utter filth. So therefore whatever the effort he do for meditation go in waste. Because it's a wrong concept. He don't know inner core is glittering so bright as the Buddha. So therefore such a person, whatever the effort they are taking due to their wrong orientation, their whole meditation go in waste. But immediately after that, the Buddha mentioned, Pabhassara midam bhikkhave cittam, your mind is already glittering, it's pure. Agantukaya upakilite upakilitam, but outer crust, just like a paint of a car, it's a millimicron layer, it is defiled. It is because of your association, because of your culture, because it's brought up. And accordingly, there's outer crust. Just penetrate this outer crust, then you can see inside is completely blissful, completely glittering nature, humanity. Outer crust, you are male, female, old, medium age, young, learned, unlearned, all the sectarianism is there. It is nothing but millimicron layer. But to penetrate it, that's very hard. Because we are so attached to our outer shape. We are attached to our likings and dislikings. We are attached to our personality traits. We are attached to our habits. We are attached to our karmic forces. So therefore we can't even see through, we can't expect inside of each and everyone the glittering humanity is there. It is bright, but you have to penetrate it. But even though it is not penetrated, if you know the inside of each and every human is so bright, for such a person meditation is hopeful. He can meditate and he can gain because his orientation is correct. Viewpoint is correct. So that is first and foremost, even before the mindfulness, you must have this orientation. Without that, you may do so much of things, but not accumulating towards your experience. Because you are starting with inferiority, thinking that I am completely filthy, I am completely with defilements, no hope like. But due to the others' invitation and kind of, you do rituals, you do that and this puja, but always with this bewildered mind. You don't know where it is leading. You don't know it is to penetrate this outer crust, but still you love, even though it is filthy, you love this outer crust or the appearance. So the whole world is run by the appearance. It is such a bewildering thing, but always you try to make up, facelift, to have the appearance, so much so you get engrossed with the appearance, so you can't penetrate into that. So therefore, Venerable Sariputta which is one thing hard to penetrate, that is your likings and dislikes. Like your personality traits, your habits. You are so attached to it, even on principle you wish to do away with them, very difficult. Again and again they come and smear, they come and block you, and ultimately you give up, considering that my totality is filthy. My totality is with defilements, so therefore you have to have first and foremost this correct view. Becoming a human is not a joke. It is not an accident. It is due to so much of past good deeds that you get this opportunity. But each and every human won't get the chance to be a disciple of Buddha. Don't get the chance to listen to Dhamma. Don't get the chance to be, at least temporarily, get out of your household life and dear and near one and practice. Be Sangha. To volunteer to have moral life. Everyone is trying to indulgence or sensuous gratification. So for that only the fighting. So coming here and an understanding, very difficult. So therefore that coming here, being here, you know how to appreciate it. Not any other merit you need. That very appreciation itself make your life more lighter. But you can't appreciate. You are always thinking back home, even though you are sitting on a cushion. You are thinking about the past and the future, other people and other places, because you are not appreciating here now. And it is, even though you are attributing it is due to this and that, it is utter lack of appreciation. So therefore, to appreciate, you must have the idea that it is something wash and cleanable. And if you do not have that even idea, you never even appreciate your renunciation for temporarily or sitting on a cushion and understand that sitting, understanding this here and now moment is important. So this is the way you go against the grain. Otherwise our thinking is always along the grain. What the society says, we try to perform best. But here, you have to go against the grain. That is why Venerable Sariputta is telling, there is a thing, darling, you have to understand, hard to penetrate. Duppati vicca. And what is that? Anantarika Samadhi, to penetrate or be face to face with that concentration uninterrupted. So how to leave aside the concentration, how to keep the mindfulness uninterrupted with a particular object. So much so, continuity of the mindfulness is only answerable to the concentration. And then upon that you have to develop this concentration, accumulating power, acceleration and gaining the speed. That is how the Anantarika Samadhi can take place. So therefore you have to work backward. Anantarika Samadhi means uninterrupted concentration. So before you go into that kind of momentum, that kind of speed, you must understand momentary concentration. And to have the momentary concentration, the proximate factor is the mindfulness. You have to have the mind, you have to keep the mindful, but the bare mindfulness or sati matrava is not enough for the concentration to happen. The momentary mindfulness is just to say your potential, just to say you have the merits, you have the potential and possibility, but it is not enough for the concentration. It must be continuous. When that continuous momentum starting in the mindfulness, that gives rise to the concentration. That concentration again broken whenever the object changes, whenever the posture changes, anything movable, that concentration distracted. So you have to keep on either with the same object or keep the mindfulness while objects are changing. That's the point I am trying to highlight it. Keep the concentration while you are changing the postures. If that is possible, Even though the object is not continuous, with different objects, still you can be mindful. And one day you have to understand, not only with the different objects, or so to say, while breathing, hearing happens, but still without much of a distraction, you can be mindful on hearing. You can be mindful on thinking. You can be mindful on the pain. So likewise, you may understand there's a kind of a connectivity, and imagine how to be mindful without an object. That is the part. Human mind never think originally by itself. Even after the Buddha indicated, even after Venerable Sariputta indicated, even you experience, you don't believe. Mindfulness can go without an object. Therefore, whether objects are changing or whether you are living with the same object, it doesn't matter once the mindfulness goes off the ground. And then you can understand, amidst of changing objects, still you have a hope. And occasionally, you go without any object, still you may understand, and you may all of a sudden comes to know, no object but mindfulness is there. And the moment you appreciate it, you may find everything you earn in this world is negative. Whenever this is all gone, then only the highest amount of mindfulness come into being. So all your assets will be liabilities in long run. That is the point you have to completely get rid of. But that is not the death. That is not a hallucination. That is not something imagining. It's something you can achieve in this consumerizing world. You can achieve in this luxurious world with full of material, still due to the beauty of the teaching. Not only you can balance the mindfulness amidst of different objects. One day you can see it's completely emptied. No object, no feeling, no perception, no willful thinking. But still you can see, just like an aeroplane get the aerodynamic in the air, everything is in a balance, but you don't know where it is established. You can't attribute to any kind of a substrata. Just be there. So momentarily you can experience it, and the aim is to have this state as long as possible with same object or with different object or without object. When that is happens, and that when it is continuing, the very concentration which develop first with the face-to-face with your primary object, later we'll understand primary object must not be single thing. It may be whatever may be prominent thing appearing in that thought moment. You make use of it and be concentrated, and ultimately even without any object, just like the mindfulness, you can see parallelly the concentration also there. And that concentration once you master, that concentration once you season, you may find that is the concentration Venerable Sariputta is appreciating. This is the concentration Venerable the Buddha is appreciating. And I have inner Buddha. I can go into that. So then onward, your prime task is to maximize it, go into that state as much as possible, and once you learn the art, learn the ways and means, you find that subtle state is not far away. At the end of the out-breath, all the time it is there. At the end of the out-breath, no objects, but the continuity is there. But you have fear. You don't wish to see it because it is fearful. is unexplainable by the rational mind. So therefore it is not something you have to earn by after going heaven or in somewhere else. It's right here and now. But your mind only can associate the gross breath. When it becomes subtle and subtle, you become nauseatic. You start perspiring. You start so much of movements, and ultimately you doubt your own practice. So that is why the Buddha says it is natural, because we are being so much with the gross things. To train into the subtle thing, it is not so easy. So therefore have faith. First and foremost, you must have faith on the Buddha. Otherwise, this is the easiest way to go mad. This is the easiest way, the shortcut to go mad. If you are going to do in an experimental basis, many people say by meditating you become mad. So one day, one person, he is a very talkative person, came to our Loku and asked, one day, I am not meditating, I am not a full exemplified monk, but I heard the meditation lead to madness. What do you say? Loku got a very long breath and he was relaxing his seat. He says, it is not that meditation lead to madness, but I see mad people are meditating. Many mad people are meditating. They find escapism from there. No escapism. You have to start with the faith. When you come to the American Buddhism, they never mention about faith. They think faith is religious. We are making this whole thing into secular, to bring it to the secular mode. And what happened is, without the preparation, for example, if you are going to do a brain surgery in the kitchen, without giving the operation theatre conditions, or if you are going to do a operation in the toilet due to urgency, what does it mean by opening the brain skull? What a dangerous thing. So therefore this penetration also must have the disinfected situation. That disinfection is, one thing is the faith. You must understand, inside me there is an enlightened person. That is what the Buddha is telling. If you are cursing yourself, if you have no self-love, it's dangerous. Whatever you do, it is harming you. Second thing is morality. You must understand, I have to accept the social norms, abiding by civil law. If you are breaking that and if you are transgressing that, what the kind of experiment in this? On top of that, you must be mindful. You have to say, whenever the mind learns from going against the grain, body reacts. The mind reacts. So if you have the self-fear, if you have no any confidence about, so it is leading to the hysteric situations or panic situation. You so much so you love your the body and the mind, you never try to do experimenting. So this kind of perspiring happens. So it is not limited to one particular person. Those who have faith, enough faith, those who are well abiding by the morality, and those who are ready armed with mindfulness, day by day, they can go deep and deep into the situation where even the object is changing. Still there is a hope. Not necessarily the mindfulness is disturbed. Maybe it is your wrong calculation. For example, while you are meditating, for example, in sitting meditation, you try to focus your attention to the bodily posture or breath or rising and falling, whatever it may be. Every one of us accept the mind run away. When it runs away, if you try to be disturbed, self-accusing or irritated, so it will take a long time to recover back and rest on your primary object, even if it is possible, because your self-curse, because of irritated mind, because of your finding fault with external thing, disturb you to come back and re-establish in the mindfulness. Even if it is coming back, you will never appreciate it, because you never believe the mindfulness is stronger than the external distraction. I am repeating, the mindfulness is more stronger than the external distraction. So let the distraction be a distraction. Try to be aware. Now I am being distracted. Main thing is not to worry. Main thing is not to complain. Main thing is not to be inferior. And understand this distraction happened not due to my will. It is not my wish. It's something happened on the way. So my main thing is to bring the shaken mind to the, if it is possible, to the main object, or tolerate it. Be aware of it. Be patient with the situation. And sometimes you may find naturally mind come back to the primary object, or you get better chances to bring it back to the mindful, because your mind is not distracted. So this is what you call kind of a yonisomansikara. And by each and every distraction, it is nothing to worry. Main thing is not to worry. Instead, see the possibility to come back. And if you are with that kind of a mindset, first and foremost, in your meditative reports, you will first report when and where the meditative mind is the primary object, because that is the thing to be appreciated. Not going out, not complaining, not thinking about my mind is indisciplined and running up and down. It is not your mind, it is human mind. But instead, occasionally, you can bring it to the primary object to promote it, to highlight it, to appreciate it. Meditation teacher says, whenever it comes to the primary object, whenever it is face to face the primary object, try to grab hold as much as information on the primary object, so that it will associate very closely with the primary object. Don't be slack. Whenever you are with the primary object, try to be very immediate, try to be very absorbing, rubbing each other, and feel how does it mean, how can I feel. This is in-breath, not the out-breath, not the thought, not the pain, not the sound. What are the intrinsic characteristics whenever mind is associating in-breath? Soon when it goes to the out-breath, you equally understand, now I am with the out-breath. What are the intrinsic characteristic, personal characteristic, unmistakable characteristic, individual characteristic of the out-breath? The moment you know how to discriminate, how to explain, this is in-breath, this is out-breath, you are more closer to the primary object, less and less chances it is to be go out. Less and less chances it to be carried out. So therefore don't worry about the going out, that is promoting. When and where it is coming to the primary object, give higher appreciation, read the mindfulness with the primary object to the utmost detail. So again and again it starts to come. And so for example, now even with that kind of a mental state, it will say go out, maybe a thought, maybe a sound, maybe a pain, and understand now my mind is not with the primary object. I can't discriminate in breath and out breath, I can't see in breath and out breath, my mind is with the thought. And if you are not worried, you may understand, as far as I am in this thought, it's endless amount of defilements. Now I know I am in the thought, endless amount of defilements, and instead I have a solace, instead I have a oasis, instead I have a pure ground. So my mind, if I am compassionate with myself, if I think about my well-being, I must find the way from this thinking mind to bring it to the breath, or the posture, Or if you are taking the rising and falling as the primary object, bring it there. And you may find, of course with little bit of trial and error, failures, you may find to bring from there to for a split second to your primary object, nothing blocking. Only thing is you are worrying about the going out, or sometimes you are attracted to about the distraction so much so you don't know how to bring it back. Otherwise, whatever the distraction, the ability to bring back to the primary object is a birthright of each and every human. When you are appreciating, when you are practicing, when you try to keep the primary object as your refuge, or try to consider your primary object as your Buddha, and bring him back to the primary object as your Dhamma, and my whole task as a Sangha is to bring that defiled state to the undefiled state, you may find you have enough common sense to bring it. And whenever it come back, understand, if you are not thoroughly studying the primary object, it may run away, swift away, it is so swiftly. So again and again you try to introduce, but day by day you may understand, little by little your association with the primary object increases. Your description of the primary object will be very scientific. Will exactly explain, this is what I feel the in-breath, this is what I feel the out-breath. And furtherance, you will say the beginning of in-breath is not like the middle of the in-breath. Middle of the in-breath is not like the end of the in-breath. Within the breath itself, so much of information. So to say, the beginning appear different object when compared to the middle of the out-breath, in-breath or out-breath, and the end will be completely different. Within the same object, so much of facets. The Buddha says 11 facets are there. Sometimes you consider in-breath and out-breath as very desirable. Sometimes even though it is facing with the in-breath and out-breath, it appears very boring, very monotonous, inferior. Sometimes you appear like, sometimes the in-breath appear very gross than out-breath, or sometimes than thinking. But after a while you find it's very subtle. The grossness to subtle change is not due to your will. That is, the breath has so much of facets. And sometimes you may see, the breath is so close face to face with the mindfulness or mind, no distance from the mind and the object. Sometimes it's far away, miles away. Breath is there, but far away it is a closeness and far away. Sometimes you feel breath is associated with your body, or you feel within the frame. Breath takes place, you can really feel inside your nostril, or on top of your upper lip, or in the bend in your nose, or somewhere in the chest, or somewhere in the diaphragm, within the frame. Sometimes it appears completely outside. Breath is happening, it's outside. And if you are not prepared, you may question how the hell my breath happened outside. Because you lost your boundary, in and out. Sometimes you call this is me, but out breath is happening completely outside. These are valid, accepted modes, valid, accepted facets. And sometimes appear, breath is not yet come, but I am very alert how it is appearing. Sometimes it's a rubbing sensation, very grossly you can see here and now. Sometimes you can see it is disappearing. So likewise, time-wise also, many facets. So to see, to penetrate the primary object, it is just mere superficial association is not enough. More and more you penetrate, two benefits. One thing, you can scientifically explain in-breath and out-breath in detail. Second thing, distractions are far away. So this is how it is go penetrate deep, and even now under such circumstances, we'll say it is going for a thought, it's going for a sound or for a pain. And now you know, I can't see in-breath and out-breath discreetly because my mind is distracted. And main thing is not to worry, because the distraction is not due to my will. Whatever happened beyond my will never create any karmic forces. So therefore you are innocent, still innocent. So now main thing is to see, possibility to see through this pain or sound or thought and to get the contact with the breath. In this situation, I would like to add little bit of detailed information. Under such circumstances, don't worry about the breath, just be aware of your posture. Bring the attention to the posture to say, I am not walking, I am not standing, I am not lying down, I am sitting. So amidst of thoughts, amidst of sound, you may find, just understand that I am sitting. Maybe some welcoming than penetrating and sharp into the in-breath and out-breath. So therefore you have to give a little bit of a easy way for the mind to come back and understand. Amidst of thinking itself, you can see the sitting posture or your posture. That is directly applicable to walking meditation also. You may be thinking, but still you know you are walking. You are not sitting, you are not standing, you are not lying down. You know you are walking posture. So that is your solace. That is your refuge. That is your oasis. That is your home. That is your security place. That's an undefiled place. So bring it back and immediately you may find, if you have the quick wit, the sharpness, soon you come back, again you can see detail of the breath, or detail of your sitting posture, or detail of your walking posture, because mind is so quick, mind is so active. Whenever you bring back, you can see detail. That means again it has gone into the very deep penetrated mindfulness. So therefore the change happened due to the sound and thought is minimal or null and void. Again you are back at home. You are with your primary object. And later you may find even this kind of a little bit of frills and waves happens. The general mindfulness is fairly maintained. And that is, you have to have positive thinking. That is, you have to have appreciation about your effort, to encourage it, to give more, better epithet. The Buddha says, when you take the deep sea, the uppermost layer is always making waves due to the movements on the wind. The lowermost part is big due to the big sea animals like whales and all the kind of thing. Waves are there, but the middle of the sea never shaken. It is utterly silent. Likewise your mind also, the uppermost layer, maybe you are thinking about the parents and the children and the money and kind of, it is very wavy. But when you penetrate deep in, just like a deep sea, it's unshaken, but your mind always happy with these problems, happy with this calamity, happy to talk about these all trivial things. You never appreciate the deep sea, the unshaken mind. That is Buddha mind, that is Dhamma. That is your privilege, that is your endowment. You never appreciate it because you don't know how to look into that. You don't know how to penetrate through these superficial waves and the frills and kind of thing. So whenever you see, you may understand one day, unless otherwise distractions, this clarity will never happen. Through distraction only you understand, distractions are yes, but mindfulness is more powerful. It's more penetrating. That has to sharpen. That has to use it. And by sharpening, you can understand, yes, here and there, these thoughts and negative feelings and discouragement, everything happen. But the moment you try to see through, you find that mindfulness is not so quickly shaken, unless otherwise you disqualify it. Your bloody ignorance is disqualifying it. That is what you call the ignorance. That is what you call the defilements. That is what you call Mara. So you are the very one disheartening yourself, disqualifying yourself. Always take refuge of the distractions rather than this calmness. So slowly, whenever you try to see through this distraction, you find the calmness is throughout there from the morning to evening. Undistracted. Whether you are in the toilet or whether you are sitting on the cushion. Whether you are met up with that biggest calamity in the life, the calmness is there. Otherwise, imagine how the Patachara can come to the Buddha after the death of her husband, 2 children, parents, brother, and she is naked. Everyone considers she is mad. But the soon she comes to the audience, Buddha says, sister, be mindful. And she was. She became. Not due to her meditating, taking 5 precepts and start with Dhammajiva, 10-day retreat, 7-day retreat. She comes and the Buddha gives, sister, be mindful. She became. Because that she carried along with the death of her husband, death of her children, death of her parents, brother, still she came and then the calm mind, undisturbed. Only Buddha can see. All the other told, what a nonsense thing that naked woman come and run, disturb the talk. No one can see because we see outer. We see her naked body. We find it is unbecoming to come and face the Buddha. But the Buddha says she is a female, she is a human. Her endowment, her gift, no one can withdraw. Buddha is witnessing. But we have no that compassion to ourselves. Otherwise, when the Angulimala is chasing behind the Buddha, to kill him, have a sword, race. He says, I stop. If possible, you stop. That's it. He understood. The Buddha knows, not stopping the whole mind. The outer crux is still with the waves, but inside, just like the middle part of the sea, it's calm and quiet and serene. Buddha says, I appreciate that. You appreciate disturbed mind, and that is why you are chasing behind Buddha. And try to stop it. And he found, he was a very bright person. He was the batch top in that batch. That is why he got this punishment also. And he thought that monk is walking while walking faster than me. He says, I am stopped. He asked me to stop. What does it mean? In the same mind, same cross-section, some parts are very disturbed, very ugly, very filthy, quite defilement. If you are appreciating that, you are defiled. You are filthy. But there is a majority of the part, serene. It is pure. It is humanity. You don't know how to reach it. You don't know how to claim it. You don't know how to appreciate it. So much so, you are waiting for the next Buddha to happen. Or you think that I am not enough merits to understand. Of course, maybe, because you can't see. You are not ready to see. But the Buddha says, you have this full cross-section. You are always talking about the defilements. Always talking about the mistakes. Always appreciate the others' mistakes too. Whenever you see someone doing wrong thing, that you can see through any distraction and bring that message to your spouse and talk about that bloody fellow did that kind of a thing, you see, and you make so much of amplification of that very bloody thing. Your mind is like a magnet to carry, to hoard so much of bad things. You never appreciate your inner the purity or humanness, therefore can't expect you to sympathize another person. But while you are try to practice, this kind of uncontrollable situation happens, still you have to understand, my way back to my position, my posture is there. So then what to worry? There may be some distractions and frills and waves and thrills and kind of thing, but as far as I am taking refuge of the posture, this is the anchor. This is a pivotal point. From there you can go to very subtle positions. And when and where you practice in this kind of a positive thinking, you may find even the mind is distracted by external objects. You can see the continuity of the mindfulness. That is what you have to take refuge. So therefore you never hate distractions. You understand that distractions are the thing to tell you, even though the distractions are available, mindfulness is unshaken. If there is no distraction, you can't test it, you can't verify it. So therefore one day you will phrase distractions, telling distractions are the thing indicated my capacity. So therefore whenever the path is distracted, you must know how to put it in a positive way. To make a point to glad, even the distraction in this thing. Ultimately you find, through distraction still I can proceed. More and more you proceed, the following concentration. Earlier it was so upset because you thought your mindfulness is discontinuous. Under such circumstances, the concentration cannot exist. So when and where you find the distractions are there, but still the mindfulness is not 100%, but somehow or the other I can manage with, so you develop confidence. So you develop determination power, mental power, and you try to maximize the continuity of the mindfulness, so much so the concentration sets in, just like in a country like Sri Lanka. As far as there's a civil war, there won't be any economic development. You can't. Economy never get established. When the civil war is finished, it is not necessary to have economic formulas, the economy will come. That is natural. Likewise, once the mindfulness is assured, this concentration, it is nothing to worry. The mindful mind have nothing to praise, beg for the concentration. It's an endowment. More and more you keep mindfulness, ultimately you find this concentration. And very recently we listened to a talk of Lokko Hamdro. He says, at your utter desperation, still the concentration of your mind is there. If you know how to look into that. Even your mother died, even your house burned, even your child got mad, your concentration never disturbed. If you know how to penetrate and be with it, but you think it is not done because as a mother or father I must worry, that is my primary task is worrying, and that is your human right, you will go against the human right court to say if the child died, I must cry. That is your prime right. Of course, if it is though you are a fool, you can cry. Who cries with you? Not the Buddha. Not Venerable Sariputta. You can cry. Ultimately what you gain? More and more defilements. By crying, if there is any kind of a positive creative thing, yes, good. Never. It never gives, it is another kind of the hindrance. You appreciate, you multiply hindrance upon one thing, more and more, that is what you call the culture. Our culture is so corrupt. It is asking us to do this and don't do this and kind of thing. If you wish to satisfy the society, you have to follow the whole gamut of do's and don'ts. Ultimately, mind has no solace to be with it. That is why the Buddha says, more and more you practice, you have to not only sit on the cushion, but you have to find a way to be solitude. That is not the hate to the society, because society is other directed. You are this way, so get little by little from the society and develop more and more solitude together with mindfulness. And they are nothing, they are exactly the two sides of the same coin. More and more you become mindful, your appreciation of the solitude is happening. And the first I read this caption that Venerable Sariputta mentioned, Eko Dhammo Duppati Vijjo. Khatamo Eko Dhammo Duppati Vijjo, Anantarika Chitta Samadhi. Anantarika Chitta Samadhi is a very deep philosophical term. Very difficult to explain, because Many people think it is not achievable. That is why Sariputta says it is very difficult to penetrate. They think that I will do it in the next birth. I'll do it in the Metteyya Buddha. Never in this lifetime we have got a distance. But when you go for the same sutta, the set of tools, that's another thing. Set of tools, now we are talking about the set of single items. One thing is Anantarika Chitta Samadhi. When you go to the set of two, it's give kind of a same thing, go a little bit in detail. It says, when and where you understand what is beneficial for you and what is not beneficial, what is defiling you and what is purifying you, that is the way to earn this continuous samadhi. The first and foremost thing is, whenever defilement happens, don't worry, but try to understand it. Without understanding worries, you can't answer it. So therefore, whenever you try to keep the mind with the neutral object, or so to say primary object, it is no defilements. So therefore, defile things overpowering it. It indicates who you are, what personality trait you have. And let the three people talk with the same primary object like rising and falling, or in breath and out breath. One person will say, I can't meditate because of sounds. Other person say, I can't meditate because of thoughts. Yet another person will say, I can't meditate because of the pain. So three people come and meditate, complain in three places, that means they are trained. So through that only you have to answer. So if you are going to give the answer which is appropriate for the person with pain to the person with thoughts, never works. It is one-to-one relationship. So your distraction is the indicator who you are. So therefore, when in the meditation, if you can't report when I am meditating, as far as it is with the primary object, this is what I experience. My mind often distracted due to pain or thought or sounds. And this is what majority of distractions, like if you can give a neutral kind of a report, that means your mind is very healthy, understanding who am I. And if you are a disciplinarian, you will get frightened, depressed, inferior to see your own defilements. So much so you are missing the bus. So you have to report your defilements after reporting the primary object. Then only then another person, or at least yourself, can understand what kind of a personality I am having, what are the traits of the personality, what are the tendencies, what are the directed dispositions. When the mind becomes neutral, they prop up. Many hate it, many becoming inferior to explain it. So as far as you can't give the symptoms, the doctor can't understand the disease. You have to tell the doctor where the pain is. There was a very famous doctor who was very helpful for the monks, but he passed away. He was very philanthropic. He says, whenever monks come to his clinic, he just want to ask the monk, what kind of a pain you have? Why you come here? Instead they say, Buddha mentioned about Four Noble Truths, doctor. So therefore I am going to teach you Four Noble Truths. So doctor is asking again and again, Bhante, why did you come here? What is your pain? Just wait, I am going to teach you Four Noble Truths. Not a single monk can give the symptoms. They are so pandits, talking about nonsense. They go to the clinic and try to teach the doctor. Luckily that doctor is not mad. And he says, not a single monk, when he visited the clinic, don't know how to talk to the point. Short point. Exactly the way no one don't know how to report their meditative experiences. They are talking about nonsense. You have to tell, this is my primary object, this is how it happens when I am faced with the primary object. This is the distraction. This is what happens when the distraction happens. It's so simple. No one, they are talking about yesterday night I had a bad dream. So the early morning I got a bath and I went to the sit and other person is snoring. So one day I can't meditate. So bullshit. Just cock and bull stories. And very thing you experience, the meditation master is begging. Please let me know your direct experience. No one can. No one can. And listen, I listen to the meditation interviews for 18 months in Burma. Because I was the worst case, I don't know how to report. So my teacher asked, you should just sit and wait. How do people are reporting? Nonsense. They don't know. They don't know how to explain their direct experience. That means they don't know how to discriminate kilesas and purity. They're always talking about kilesas. They never experience the pure mind which is all right with in breath and out breath. So the Burmese teacher, Pandita Thero, before coming also tell, now if you feel, now you got it, please let other meditators know that this is what the Sayadaw wants. Then I told, if I am going to say, they become humiliated. They have their own egoistic idea. So who am I to tell them? No one believe me. No one accept me. They wanted to tell, I am a professor, I am this and that, I came all the way from that country, and he's talking about all the history, not the real thing. So therefore, to understand who you are, who am I, it is very difficult to penetrate. And if whenever the mind come back home, it has come to a defiled position or come back to an empty position, very difficult to understand. We always try to bring the mind to our desired position. That may not be a pure position. So we discussed about his question, the bringing mind back to the conference or bringing mind back to the sitting posture. Bringing mind back to the sitting posture means bringing it to the neutral. It is emptying the mind. When bringing mind to another object means yet another defilement. Very difficult to understand. You think that defilement is going to give money, going to give fame. Therefore, you try to put it up there. But anyway, the mindfulness is to empty the mind. To get your undefiled state, bring as much as possible there. It is not attractive. It is not very desirable because mind always need kilesa sap, kilesa juice. Otherwise, it is not dramatic. So therefore, slowly when we are understanding, of course it is going against the grain, one day you will understand this very simplicity. That is a direct touch, nothing but the concentration. It's nothing but the mindfulness, nothing but the meditation. We wanted to get it multivarious, many diversification, cocktail parties, and carnival into the meditation and dreaming about them. So you lose your simplicity, you lose your direct touch, so much so it is difficult. But the cut is very short. So therefore you have to understand it, you can't achieve one day. There's so much of layers, you have to keep on understanding. Whenever mind come back home, so to say, to understand whether it is simple being, any object you are going to put, it is like a peck in your eye. Anything you put into eye, it is irritating except water. Water must be pure. Likewise, the simple mind, mindful mind is just be with here and now. Anything may be very juicy, very sappy, nothing but defilement. So, may someone definitely may get disheartened. How can we find that such a purity? If it is not available, definitely what the Buddha mentioned is impractical. But the Buddha very clearly mentioned, be within your body. Kaya anupassana is pure. Take this as an alternative. When and where possible, bring it that. All the other things may have a lot of explanation, but anyway you are cheating yourself. Anyway you are crooked. Anyway you are making complications. Because this simple thing, the direct thing is very clear, very obvious, and it has already been tested, already been experienced. But the thing is, our mind won't appreciate it. It has a lot of other mingling thoughts, very colorful. But this colorfulness itself is another epithet, another name for defilements. The mindful mind is very plain, very pure. It is like a still for a spool, no waves, just mind. So therefore, understanding this is sankilesa, this is defilement, this is purity, Visuddhi, is the hardest thing for our life. We have been so much appreciated the dirty thing as colorful, dramatic, eventful, go-go show. So we are chasing behind. So much so you are chasing behind, you bypass or step over the simplicity. Simplicity is an endowment, it's a birthright. So when and we are back at home, so simple. It's so simple, therefore it appears very boring. It appears very monotonous. It appears very uncertain. It appears very fearful. It appears like you are outcasted. Because no reference point you can find. But this is a very clear indication, meditation is progressive. Even though you develop phobia, even though you develop hysteric, panic attack, this is what it is. So slowly you have to get accustomed into that. Ultimately you find, you understand what is the Visuddhya, what is the Sankilesa, because it is perverted. All the kilesas are being appreciated as good thing, all the simplicity appreciated as boring. This is what you call the perversion. And it is commonly we can discuss, but singly you have to fight. You have to understand, appreciate this simplicity. That is called childlike mentality, or going to the child psychology. It is already we have experienced it. Therefore it is nothing strange, but we are so conditioned by the society. So therefore we consider child psychology as childish. No. Childlike psychology is not childish. These are two terms. So you have to understand how to discriminate loneliness and aloneness. Loneliness is a psychological situation, pathetic. Aloneness is spiritual. To mindfulness, you go to the aloneness. Even midst of so much of people, you are with your own mind, your mindset. But that very situation, if you are going to say, I am very lonely, definitely you have to end up with the asylum. Meditation is the shortcut to the asylum. Because meditation is cutting through, leading to the aloneness. If you can't cater for it, it's appear like loneliness. So you take refuge of many things. You don't know which is Sankilesa and which is Visuddhya. So that is why Venerable Sariputta says discrimination of what is beneficial and what is defiling is the hardest thing, even though if you feel like it is easier. So one way, completely different dimension is association with true people. Association with Kalyana Mitra is exemplifying it. So you have to have your good qualities to keep up with the Kalyana Mitra, and then only you will understand that ethically also it is possible. Personally, you are here now also possible, but not by overnight, not by listening to one talk, not by single trial and error. It's a repetitive application. Therefore, any person who is practicing regularly is praiseworthy. He is the person make a difference. Not with trial and error, not trying people, only the striving people can see into this one. Therefore, Venerable Sariputta is not discouraging you, telling it is difficult to, hard to penetrate. But he says, if you can penetrate through that, you have win the game. You have to win the game. and you know the humanity, then you can understand why other people are making so much of excuses, because they have no guts, they have no striving power. So with this information and with this amount of experience you have, may this talk also helpful for you to strive and forget about trying. Be striving, and then definitely step by step you are reaching your goal. With that remark, I would like to sum up today's talk. Thank you very much for listening.